Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Before I start, I gotta thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the opportunity to talk before y'all. I don't got further ado. I like to get right to it. So a little bit about me. Just retired 10 months ago from the Navy. Did 22 years, and just with the grace of God, landed in this workforce development space. Had an idea of something called Veteran to Veterans. Brought it to John. Now here we are. Right. So have a great conversation today. I look forward to all the things Jose is going to talk about with Safeguard. I'm gonna turn over to John right now. Let him introduce himself, and we just go from there.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you, and thank you guys for dialing in. John Nieves, 25-year Navy vet, my sophomore season of retirement. Fortunate to transition into this workforce development transition space where, Dominic and I get to continue to serve, just not in uniform, and then we get to meet people and partner with folks that are passionate about what they do, like Jose. And now we get this extra added benefit of being able to have these one-on-one conversations and really, really dig into what's going on. So super thankful for you to be here with us, Jose. Can't wait to get into this and find out more about Safeguard Veterans. So with that, we'll jump into it. We got about an hour and definitely looking forward to it. So Jose, I'll turn the floor over to you if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your connection to the military community, and kind of what brought you to this work.
Well, thank you for inviting me and having me. I love this kinds of conversation. Myself, I'm a Navy veteran. Actually, a little trivia: I joined the Navy on September 11th, 1991, and I was active duty, then reservist. I was in the fleet, and then I worked over in Naval Special Warfare. I was a CB for most of that time, 18 years there, and finally retired in 2013 and rolled over to working in the veteran space while I was using my GI Bill and helped start the Military Resource Center at ODU and the Military Connection Center at Regent. And I started also volunteering and working with a lot of veteran nonprofits, the Student Veterans of America, the Mission Continues, Habitat for Humanity. So I've kind of moved a lot in that space, and I've landed now here with Safeguard Veterans. And to give an overview of Safeguard Veterans, what it is, it's a pilot program being sponsored by the Office of Suicide Prevention. And to put it in a nutshell, my elevator pitch for it is that what they want to know is how veterans are connecting with the resources in the community and how the resources in the community are connecting in veterans. But also in that umbrella is how do we better serve our veterans? And the motto is any door, the right support. So when our veterans enroll into the program, whether that's for financial support or employment support, behavioral health, mental health, connecting with the VA, connecting with the resources in the community is the goal. Whether that's the Department of Veteran Affairs, the Veteran Employment Center, the VDVS, a nonprofit, a church ministry, it's all about connecting veterans and having those warm handoffs. So veterans are not falling into those silos. That's how I like to best describe it. But in that as well, if you could share the website, you could also see that part of Safeguard Veterans is in empowering the resource as well. So general education training on how to be a peer-to-peer supporter for PTSD symptoms, how to have that conversation about suicide prevention or what happens after a suicide attempt. A lot of that training is available on the website. If you could, I don't know if you could share the page, but that training is available to family members, caregivers, veteran organizations, and veteran facing organizations. So I like to give the example, if you have a church that has a ministry for veterans, and that ministry has volunteers that are out there working with veterans to help them support, or whether you're a VSO or a community college or a university that has an office for veterans, and you have student veterans helping student veterans. You want to empower those students and upskill that workforce. There's training available to make them better enablers, better supporters for our veteran population. So I like to push that the resource on the website is for the veteran, but it's also for the military affiliated caregiver. So that's a
Yeah.
lot in one intro. I like to throw it all out there. If you go to the website, you can see a lot of the training there. The first block is for the individual veteran, any generation, and that's the most important part. I've talked to in your office, John. I've talked to Vietnam veterans. that were looking to start over with a new career. I've talked to brand new transitioning veterans at a TAP class. The goal is to capture any of that veteran generation that hasn't stepped in and gotten the support they needed.
Shit, a lot of great stuff going on. And yeah, I dropped the link in the chat. So if you guys want to check out the website live. And again, a lot of good information. So I want to make sure it doesn't get overstated. Let's zero in for the guys that are hearing this for the first time and just kind of absorb that. If you had to sum up just to focus on like what problem is it created to solve?
So that's an awesome question. So we always, and in the veteran space, we say, especially in Hampton Roads, you could drown in the sea of goodwill. There are so many organizations out there to serve the veteran, but each one has its own lane. So maybe it's veteran homelessness, maybe it's veterans getting into employment. There are organizations and people that are the experts in that field. But a lot of times, veteran might fall into the wrong place, and they need that warm handover to find out, hey, you know what? And there's a hierarchy of these things. I always say, before you can take care of yourself, maybe you got to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So I'll give you a perfect example. When I was at ODU in the Military Resource Center, there was a time where the government was going to shut down, and there was a fear that GI Bill payments were going to go out. Guard and Reserve were not going to get paid. So I put out an email to all the student veterans at the campus. If this is going to adversely affect you, let me know so we can bring this up to chain of command and the school can address it. Come to find out, I had a veteran that was really adamant about his book stipend. A book stipend is something that gets allotted from the GI Bill. And I said, well, what's going on? Come to find out, he was using his book stipend to live in a storage unit. I call that popping the hood. And when you pop the hood is when you scratch at the surface of what a veteran might come in and approach you with. But in reality, they're really dealing with a lot more than just that one thing, paying the bills or getting a roof over their head before they can address the behavioral health issues or really like PTSD symptoms and things like that. So a lot of times it's about having that deeper conversation and being able to say, hey, let me also enroll you with the VA so we can get you some support, whether that's a HUD VASH to get you out of the storage unit, or make sure that you're taking advantage of all the availability money-wise to leave no money on the table. Are you also taking advantage of financial aid? Or are you just living off your GI Bill? Those are the kind of deeper conversations we would have. And that's what kind of put it in my head that we got to start connecting with each other. So that organization that deals with veteran homelessness also knows how to get veterans, turn that veteran over to someone to help them with their GI Bill, and then turn them over to the Veteran Employment Center to get a job and a career.
Yeah, I love that, right? So I try, when you meet veterans, it's always layers to when they have issues and stuff going on, right? Not having a job is always a layer. Okay, I haven't had a job for how long? A couple months. So then when you live there, when you dive in a little bit deeper, it's like you just said, somebody living here, car to car, living in the car, maybe a storage bin, maybe going from couch to couch. And it's always like it's the nutshell of everything is, hey, don't suffer in silence. There's programs out there, the VA, but a lot of times we suffer in silence until you actually meet somebody that you feel comfortable to share and open up. And then you say, oh my, I didn't know this was open. I didn't know that was going on. Like you said, the VOSH, all the different programs and stuff of that nature. So like when I go on the website, I kind of mess around with it a little bit. When I go in there, I see kind of, it says like it's described as a 1-year pilot research program funded by the VA. Like with far as like the pilot testing, like are y'all, how is that going? And then like what do we from the pilot, like what are you hoping to learn from like the pilot testing?
That's an awesome question. Thank you. So if you go to the actual the other website I shared where you could actually enroll, you'll see where there's the block for the veteran, and then there's the partner resources for clinicians, non-clinicians, families to get that training. On the back end of that, there's surveys that happen. We're finding out what exactly we're taking the analytics of when veterans do enroll, what's their number one concern. Is it employment? Is it behavioral health? Is it connecting with the VA for a disability rating? Is it mental health issues? So all of that information and data is being tracked on the back end to see how can we best serve not only the veteran, but the veteran resources in the community. So this is a pilot program that's being done in 5 cities: Hampton Roads, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Saginaw, Michigan, San Antonio, Texas, and Las Vegas, Nevada. If you live in our veteran space here in Hampton Roads, you could throw a rock and hit a veteran. You're going to hit somebody that's military affiliated, hit their prior service, actively serving, maybe a dependent, a spouse, or somebody that works in that space. Compare that to Cheyenne, Wyoming, where you could just imagine this wide open spaces, veterans and families are scattered across the whole state. How do we take what we're doing well here and scale that for Wyoming? How is that different from the population in Fayetteville or Las Vegas? And what are they doing well, and what are we doing well that we can implement across the country? So, with that mentality of let's get out of these silos and see how we can better communicate.
Got it. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Yeah. And along with that is also that educating, you don't know what you don't know. And in the process, there's us, the veteran, that we don't know. I mean, how many times have you been like, I did this presentation for the Blind Veterans of America chapter in Hampton, and I was talking about Safeguard, and I learned from them about, the stipend that a disabled veteran with the eye impediment can get, up to like $26,000 towards accommodations for a vehicle. And so there's constant, and these benefits, these resources, they're constantly changing. So to have the people in the space that are educated, like to understand, hey, this might not be my lane, but let me turn this over to these folks over here, whether that is the community engagement person at the VA, or the employment person at the VEC, or anyone in these spaces. You want to feel comfortable as a resource to be able to say, hey, let me connect you with Dominic. Let me connect you with the office where John's at that can help you with resume and employers that come there. That's kind of like the key that really needs to be opened, or the door that needs to be opened for all of us across the veteran space.
So great explanation. So much good information with this program. For the folks that are listening or are going to rewatch this on YouTube, if you switching perspective, right, moving away from your lens as a Safeguard veteran and transitioning to just a veteran's lens, like your personal experience, all of your background included, right? Why would you say that this program, Safeguard Veterans, is important now for the transitioning community, based off of kind of all the things that we just talked about?
I think more than ever, especially Dominic recently retired. Like, John, you've been out for a minute. I've been out for a minute. There's been this evolution of, approaching behavioral health, mental health, on the active duty side. Like, we've seen it in the news recently with the long deployments. But long deployments aren't new, and challenges on deployment are never new. But what's changed now is the culture of addressing those challenges. You know, and this is the best time, I think, for really being able to connect the veteran or the active duty service member to resources, to that, to make them a better, a better, to have a better transition, and to make them a better service member while they're on board, while they're still on active duty. I think so. Being able to connect to those resources and not make it something that we just bury behind, like, I mean, the suck it up and keep it moving, or embrace the suck, is something that we've heard throughout my, through my career, through a lot of, in the space. It's just always been the mentality, part of the culture. But if we just, intervene a little bit, not necessarily intervene, but make it less, more approachable, and take care of ourselves, just like if you were to break an arm, you'd say, hey, man, you need a cast on that. When you're starting to have that slippery slope with behavioral and mental health issues, and you're starting to show those symptoms, and maybe you might not address it yourself, but that family member knows, hey, I've seen a difference since you've been back from deployment, and I've experienced that myself. And it took me a long time before I really decided, hey, this is an issue that needs to be talked about. And I've gone from not talking about it at all to, like, this is the voices that we need to hear in the veteran space. And a lot of veterans just want to be heard. They have that first door that they step into. It might be that veteran employment center where they're really looking for a job, but they have other issues that they haven't addressed either. Right. And just being able to be understood and say, hey, I have this conversation, and say, oh man, let me tell you about my time when I came back. And
I'm spot on, right? To be understood, and then to get an actual resource. Because sometimes some we don't get under. I think veterans sometimes, or just people in that transitioning space or that pivoting space, they feel like they don't get heard, or they just get pushed right to a resource that doesn't really like give them much to it,
Mm.
right? So if I'm the veteran, I'm watching right now, I'm kind of on the website, if I'm having a crisis, can I turn to like Safeguard right now if I'm having a real crisis and like, or do I need to go to the VA? Can I go to the website? Like, how does that, how if I'm having a crisis, I'm in that emotional state where it's just like I'm overwhelmed. I want to have help right now.
I have this conversation a lot, and because there are so many resources available out there, I always say start with the VA. If you have a veteran in crisis, he needs to go to an emergency room, like an actual crisis. A real crisis needs to be addressed immediately, and that is the VA. But along with that, you can caveat that with other resources in the community. The vet centers in the community are a great behavioral health, mental health follow up. You got the Stephen A. Cohn Clinic in for military and veteran families in Virginia Beach. So even in our own space, but I say as an SOP, when you have a real crisis, a real emergency, start with the VA. You know, start with that emergency room, that immediate response, and don't ignore it. But follow up with all these other resources in the community that could support. I've I've been through the gambit myself, and I never talked about it. You know, but now seeing it from the other side, seeing how the sausage is made, I said, you know what's going to help you the most is the follow up. And really, it's not just let me get you out of this emergency crisis, but what happens after that? What are we going to do to sustain you on a good glide path to get you where you need to be?
No, I mean, yeah, spot on, right? So then the emergency center, all the things like, because it's like when the crisis happened, when it's like, that first 24 hours, that first 40 hours, I got it, right? VA center, the emergency room, all the things. So now, let's say it's a family, I can feel myself going on crisis. I can feel myself getting there. The last 2 weeks been super hard for me. And let's say if I'm married, my wife reaches out to Safeguard, like what should they expect from far as like help or support or the guidance that they give?
Awesome question. So there is specific training on the Safeguard website for family members and caregivers. But the what happens is as you enroll in the program, you're going to have a care navigator that's going to reach out to you, and they're going to talk to you one on one. And some of our care navigators, we have our partners, American Warrior Partnership, Onward Ops, but we also have, well, I can tell you specifically for some of the backgrounds, they come from the veteran space. So you're not just talking to a 1-800 call center somewhere. You're talking to veterans that are going to respond to you within 48, 72 hours. They're going to reach back out. They're going to connect you with. They're going to start with the VA, but they also want to make sure you're connected to the community. So they have I call it the Rolodex of uh, of resources in the community, if that makes sense. So it's not it's kind of like the Avengers are coming to help you. It's not just Spider-Man or Captain America or Tony Stark showing up. You got a whole team. And I think the key to that is the warm handoff, because you don't know what you don't know as a veteran. So when you have that veteran to veteran, and I mean anybody that's been in this space knows the biggest advocate for any veteran is another veteran. That's going to tell you, hey, Dominic, do this, don't do that. Hey, I've been there. That's not really going to help you. What you're looking for is this. And that's 10 times better than a commercial or a website or a form to fill out, I think.
I will say that for veterans or people in the workforce development space, or just that warm handoff does mean the world to people. That warm handoff, like, hey, even the point of if Safeguard is that safe place where I have my counselor, I talk, and I have to like for what I need goes to the VA. But guess what? That Safeguard representative or my caseworker, whoever my rep from Safeguard, if they already had to call to the VA, they already had to call the different services, and it gave that great introduction, gave a quick overview of what's going on with me, what help I need. So when I get over there, it's like, hey, Mr. Outlaw, I already talked to Susan from Safeguard. She told me all the details. Hey, this is what we're doing. So I have to re-explain my hurt, re-explain what I'm going through, re-explain my crisis, or my wife or whoever my family may have to re-explain anything, and it delays the process. Right. So I definitely spot on with I love the idea of that, and I love because I know how much it means to have to tell my story one time and I have to keep telling it over and over and over again, because that brings on more trauma, more like takes me even sunk in place. And it's like, what did I talk to that person for? What did I tell them for? This is gonna talk to another person. This is gonna talk to another person. Why I keep telling the same song over and over again? Nobody cares. Blah 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 blah.
Absolutely. And that's part of that is really understanding it in the training that's offered. But then, you got a lived experience. I mean, I'll share a little bit about me. I did my last deployment. I was a CB deployed with a SEAL team to Afghanistan, lived in a village for a year, came back, and while I was doing my exit medical, got diagnosed with a whole lot of mental health stuff. Checked a lot of boxes on my last medical, yearly or something. I said, you know what? I'm fine. I'm rolling back over the reserves. I'll get some sleep. I'm good. At the time, I wasn't aware of anything that was going on. But, 2 years later, I'm still showing the same symptoms, hypervigilant, put on a bunch of weight, anxiety, wasn't sleeping. And I thought, well, I just need to suck it up, But in one of the things is in learning in this space and seeing it at large from a lot of veterans. It's when veterans started connecting with other veterans that said, "Oh, you know what? Me too." And then you're seeing the trend and seeing that having that central location at one place where veterans on campus could even connect and talk about what the issues were and what's going on. And you're seeing now you see that trend that it's not just a one-off. When you connect with other veterans, you feel that, hey, you're not alone. And that in itself is empowering. We didn't have that back in 2010 or 2011. You didn't have these organizations like that are really kind of talking about it. You just kind of went about your business and kept it moving, right? You sucked it up or embraced the suck or whatever the go-to saying was. So I think that veteran empowerment is huge. That veteran advocacy from other veterans is the juice that helps all of this stuff work.
Yep. And then and for the folks that do watch this on YouTube, it's safeguardveterans.net. Safeguardveterans.net. A lot of great information. And so for Safeguard Veterans in the program, before we transition and to the conversation here, what does Safeguard Veteran need from the military community or community organizations for this pilot to be successful? What
That's
would be
awesome.
your request?
Yeah, my request is share this information. When I came on board, I think I cover the Hampton Roads area. My goal is to find other advocates, whether that's the folks that I meet at the Veteran Employment Center that need support with employment options and employment opportunities. Because what we do is we're sharing the other resources. I'm partnering with the VA. I'm partnering with the Stephen A. Cohen and Mission United, United Way, and what we're looking to do is breaking those silos. So where the rubber meets the road, go on the website. If you're a veteran yourself, connect to resource support and see what happens when that care navigator reaches out to you. If you're a clinician, that works in the space, there's special training. There's CEUs available. I know some LCSWs, licensed clinical social workers, need that clinical training. If you're a community college or a church organization that has maybe a ministry for veterans, empower your volunteers, your folks in your workspace to do the training. Learn about peer-to-peer support for peer-to-peer support for PTSD. Learn about some of the other training opportunities that are available. It just makes us all better at how to have these conversations. Well, when I did the training myself, really talking about how to ask a veteran, hey, are you thinking about killing yourself? And that's part of the exercise is like, do you feel, it's kind of, you're kind of getting into someone's personal space, but when they do that training, it's specific, it's direct. You don't want to say, hey man, you know what, maybe sleep it off or no, ask that question. A lot of that training is what's going to make us better advocates for veterans. So there's links for family and caregivers. There's links there for clinicians. There's access to the care initiatives in the Safeguard program. But don't think of it just as the VA. What we're sharing is all the resources in the community, and then following up with an agency that's with an agent that's advocating on your behalf, if that makes sense.
I mean, you said that it makes perfect sense to me, but I do want to have you, since you're in this space and you like the face or the representative of Safeguard right now. So I would say like a lot of for the military members that are transitioning from the military, right? Transitioning retirement, pivoting from separating, just moving into that career. I'm moving from the military to that civilian sector, right? And it is a lot of focus on, jobs, benefits, all the things. Like, but do you think what is from your perspective and the work you're doing, like from what do you see as far as like the emotional and social and personal challenges that we kind of like overlooking?
The biggest takeaway when I got into this role is the most what's the word I want to use? The most dangerous time for a veteran is that first 12 months after transition. That's whether that's a medical discharge, a retirement, um, however you served, whether that was a year and a half because you got a medical discharge, or it's after 20 years and you're getting ready to transition out. All these things start taking into effect. Like, how do I pay my bills? How do I? My family dynamics are about to change because my spouse that used to see me for half a year is not going to see me, in the house 24/7 until I find whatever else I'm going to do next. How much, and in that transition space, we know statistically that's where we have the most cases of veteran suicide, depression, divorce. And the thing is that a lot of veterans, they'll die a death of 1,000 cuts. That veteran that just becomes a recluse and is unable to find employment because they're not motivated, they're not building out their network, they're not connecting with other veterans, they're just kind of like retreating into their space. And that's where we know that dangerous little 12-month period during that transition. Doesn't matter if it's after 20 years or after a year, is the hardest time for veterans. So in that space that's where we want to be. That's where we want to attack the breach.
I do agree with you spot on because once you transition, there's a new identity shift. It's the family dynamic shift from you maybe being gone all the time. Now you home. Sometimes the
Mhm.
family it's a little bit, my mom, dad's back every day. Now it's
Financial
conflict, the
state.
rules change, financial change, and a lot of nuances when it comes to being a civilian. Like, what is short-term disability? Why do I have to pay for that? Okay, this healthcare. What do you mean? How much is this healthcare? I have co-pays. I have TRICARE. I've retired. I have TRICARE. We may have a copay of this amount. Or what? What? Okay, I didn't retire. I separated, but I don't have. I want to look at Champ VA. It's a fees with that. But my job had fees, insurance is that as well. Then it's
Mhm.
like, okay, new identity. Some people get away from the military and say, I want nothing to do with the military. I want to look at the military, leave the military. I want to leave 2 hours from anything associated a military town. Then when I get out of my 2 hour away town, I don't fit in. They don't understand me. They don't understand some of the things I've been to. Like, I don't. This is not necessarily my thing. I thought civilian life was going to be my everything, but now it's kind of like nobody gets me.
Yeah.
Like, I have my community because I walked away from the community. I walked away from, I would say, the people that I want to get away from, but then the people that understand me the most.
And it's a different kind of hard, right? Because you could say, man, you know what? And I tell you what, I worked in the SEAL community for 18 years, and these are guys that are used to doing hard stuff, and now they're having a tough time, balancing a soccer schedule with their kids and trying to find employment, and the frustration and just like the mental tiredness. And it happens to all of us because we're like, wait a minute, I don't get it. I used to be up for 72 hours, work at my duty station and then working and then running drills. And how is it that I'm coming home and I'm exhausted after 6 hours of looking for a job? Or I went to a job fair and I had to go to a kid's soccer game and I had to pick up my kid after school. And now I'm all beat up. I'm ready to go retreat and go watch some football. And it's like, you know what I mean? That transition, we're like, man, I used to be able to lock in and just kind of grind, 4 days at a time and zero sleep on just built on monsters and coffee. And having to like reevaluate and dial in, calibrate what this new life is like,
Yeah,
post military.
so even for myself, I'll be transparent. Sometimes I miss the chaos. Like being a regular person, being a 9 to 5, it's kind of like
Absolutely.
this is boring. Like that's why
Yeah.
sometimes like if you I do so much because I'm used to doing so much. Like just being a regular, you do your 9 to 5, you go home, that's it. Like
Yeah.
the highlight can't be my son's football practice, or the highlight can't be, oh, I got to
Yeah.
watch my son do a track thing. That's not the highlight for me, right? Then the other side of it, when if you do get married, you settle down. I have a lot of different people have like my wife came home now. I got to hear her like like certain things that that they deal in the civilian world from this person did this, that person did that. I'm not on deployment no more. I got to hear every day. Sometimes
Yeah.
people don't really talk about. it's different from being a mom or dad is always coming and going versus every single day. The nuances dealing with the kids, dealing with the husband, dealing with the wife every day. A lot of times, emotionally and mentally, I'd rather be deployed than deal with the family every single day or deal with being a civilian every single day. Nobody never really talks about that, and it's like one of those conversations. Like I think it's taboo to be like I'd rather be on deployment than be at cooking dinner with the family, playing Monopoly on Saturday
Yeah,
and Sunday. You know what I mean? Because like
absolutely.
me, I ain't gonna lie, I miss the chaos. Like I truly miss the chaos. I miss the go. I miss the days of working 12, 14 hours. And hey, guess what? Tomorrow we off. Don't even come to work, phone muster. Then hey, next week we grinding, grinding, grinding. Then it's just the up and down the deployment tempo. So I'm one of those, but you have to adjust, you have to pivot. I've been able to like just dive into all the different workforce development things and better myself that way. But a lot of people don't necessarily find their niche or find what they really want to do, and it's a struggle. And it's like, hey, you did all these great things in the military. It's like, damn, I'm just a regular person. I'm just a
Yeah,
regular. I'm not that E9. I'm not that E8. I'm not that O5. I'm not
yeah.
leading 200, 1,000 people. I'm not
Mhm.
going to a NATO meeting. I'm not on the VTC call. It's just
Yeah. You're
what's for
just a
dinner
regular
today?
old Joe.
It's a regular old Joe. It's a regular
Yeah.
9 to 5er.
Yeah, you get around other veterans and start having that conversation, and people say, oh man, I miss it downrange. I miss being, I lived in a village in Afghanistan on a mountaintop for like 11 months, and it was Gilligan's Island where we were getting mortared, and people, but that chaos is what you get to. But I was just to bring it back, for that veteran that's now a veteran. We're civilians now. Our job now is to advocate for the folks that are standing the watch. That's how I look at it. That my role. I'm not going back on deployment anytime soon or ever again, unless the aliens invade. Maybe the aliens will come and then we're all going to be back on active duty. But our job now is to make it better for those future veterans. That's how I look at it. So one of the things I always tell veterans is you got a tool bag, and in that tool bag, you're going to put in people like John Nieves. You're going to put in Dominic. That's going to help you with these things. You're going to get in. You're going to put in that organization that helps you, whether that's the VFW, whether that's the Student Veterans of America or Travis Manion Foundation. You're going to put these things in that tool bag because it's a superpower we have as veterans, and that superpower, that mutant power, is other veterans that are going to support you, that are here to say, man, let me look at your resume, let me connect you over here with this organization, let's address this stuff. And that transitioning veteran, that veteran that you see on tap every week over there at Norfolk or wherever you're doing tap, he doesn't know that yet. He's thinking he's going out the door and he's gonna leave this command, and all he's got is maybe his spouse or his family members or wherever he's going back to after that transition. And when that veteran's there to say, hey man, we got you, come out to this meeting, come out, we're doing a service project, whether it's Travis Manuel or check out this organization over here, whether that's a VFW post, American Legion, the traditional VSOs, or the 9/11 organizations that are getting veterans out there doing stuff. Some of the best conversations I have now are with veterans from previous generations about those things we talk about. Man, I miss it. And I was in St. Louis last year, and I ran into a Air Force veteran that had just got out at a cigar shop. Alfredo, I see you on. And then we met another veteran that was a Desert Storm Vietnam veteran. So here's 3 generations of veterans. We were there talking about Germany because we had all been to Germany at one point. I was there right after 9/11, and we all agreed it was an awesome place to be. But that's your superpower in the veteran space, is that you got other veterans that are going to advocate for you. They're going to help you with your challenges, and they want you to succeed.
Yeah, you guys are covering such great information. And there's 2 things that I just want to kind of reinforce, because I know for me, dealing with a lot of the transitioning service members, and even while I was in uniform too, there was this kind of like complex, like, kind of like I'm immune to that, right? I don't have those issues. And so circling back to the transition part with the suicide rate, I was a suicide coordinator with the Navy for a long time,
Mhm.
and people were always shocked to find out at the time. I don't know if it's still, I can't imagine it's not still the same case, but transitioning, any type of transition, PCS, TADs, whatever the transition is the third leading cause of suicide in the military. And we
Absolutely.
don't think about it because it's so second nature. Like I've transitioned in PCS probably 19 times in my career, and I wouldn't associate it with suicide, but statistically, I'm susceptible to it. And then the same thing with that running on high. 30, 40 years ago, maybe a little longer now, 40, 50 years ago, retirees were dying at a rampant rate because they were so used to operating on high. And back then, when they retired, it was retirement. It
Yeah.
went from, rounds down range to the sound of the grill and nothing else going on. And so
Mhm.
they were dying 5 years, 10 years because of that shock of the body. So to your point, Dominic, not only to a degree, I think that we just learn to need it, but it's because it's truly a physical dependency for us. And but we're so immune to it because it's like, oh, it's another day at the office. I need 50 like fighter pilot, right? I need
Yeah.
5,000
Yeah.
things flying by. Um, and
So,
if I don't have that, real quick, if I don't have that, I'm susceptible to the dark side of reality, no matter what I tell
mhm.
myself. And I think that's something that, that's a barrier we have to break through with these transitioning service members. Like you may not think it, it's there. It's a slow bleed.
Yeah.
Death of a thousand cuts. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, and John, that's a great point. There's a couple things there that you might look for that rush in other ways, in bad ways, and not and short of like suicide, the DUIs, the divorce rate, the breaking up of the family when you have your military dependents PCSing from place to place and their hardship, what I remember during a deployment, and then the challenge now with the connectivity. We could pick up cell phones on deployment. We can jump on Facebook on deployment. Even though I was on a mountain up in Afghanistan, we still had a green side where I could jump on and check my Facebook and make Facebook posts while I'm getting mortared and machine gun and suicide bombers are going off. I could pick up a phone and call my spouse. And the thing is that connectivity, it's a double-edged sword where, everything sounds 10 times worse on the other end of the line. Whether that's, hey, we're underway and we're doing XYZ and all these evolutions that are happening. If you're hearing that as a civilian for the first time, and you got these ideas of Saving Private Ryan or Midway, Pearl Harbor battles and stuff, that those challenges are 10 times worse. So there's almost like I want to hit on a couple things, but there's also a moral injury that comes with that. You talk about the GWAP veterans. The Global War on Terror lasted 18 years, right? 20 years. And those veterans, after that up tempo of constantly operating, exercises, being underway, the changing nature of things, that vacuum afterwards, it causes a lot of things. The ultimate is going to be a suicide, maybe, or something, but the lesser of those things are the divorce rate, the family breaking up, those other things that are just going to be so bad.
Now, I spot like I will say this that a lot of people don't really. We all want technology. We all want to connect to our spouses, FaceTime, do all the things. But like that's emotional draining when like nobody talks about it. I remember my first time going on deployment. I was in Bahrain. They used to be like, "Outlaw, get off the phone. Stop talking to her. Stop. Like leave her alone." And I said, "Oh, y'all gonna find something to argue?" But I said, "Man, listen. I don't know what you got going on in your house. My house is great." But in the same time, guess what? When you have so much communication, so much, it's like stuff goes wrong in everybody's lives, right? And then,
Absolutely.
you got a significant other. It's like, hey, you married, you got a girlfriend, y'all engaged, all the things. It's like when she has those bad days, when he has those bad days, they look to you, but you're not there. And it's like
Yeah.
when you can't fix a certain problem, you can send your money, but your money doesn't fix this and that going wrong, or doesn't fix you on the side of the road, or he had a bad day, he need a hug, you're not there. And
And
sometimes the emotional piece of it, right? Right now, your wife, your husband, or your child might be stressed out and want to tell you everything, but they had some time thinking about, what, I'm not going to tell dad or mom that. I got that. My aunt, my other family member fixed it. But in the heat of the moment, they tell mom and dad everything. Now mom and dad is downrange trying to focus. They can't focus. They thinking about a little bullying at school. The wife had a flat tire on the side of the road. My husband is, got in a car accident. I don't know how he's doing. So it's that
now
too
you're on
much
the flight deck.
communication.
You're
Yeah,
now you're on the flight deck, or you're in that engineering space thinking about, the challenges back home, the lawnmower stopped working, or there's like a moral injury that happens with that when there's a problem presented that you just can't fix because you're 3,000 miles away.
And,
I just got to give a quick story. I was in Iraq, 06, 07, and I checked my email like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got one line from my wife at the time that said, "Our daughter ran away. What's the password to your cell phone?" That's it, like a fortune cookie. And I'm seeing this email at like 3 a.m. out in Iraq, and I'm like, "What do I do with this information? What can I do?" All I can do is email back, and I'm waiting to hear something else. So that there's especially with this new generation, they're born on the internet. They're born connected on their cell phones, and we're in a wired society. So that's something that I think is going to be a greater challenge that we're going to have to address as a as the United States. But that moral injury that comes with it's going to be a challenge. And that's why I said my answer is always going to be the connectivity thing, the network. That's going to be the one, not the do all end all, but it's going to be one of the solutions. Really understanding, because when you leave active duty, when you're transitioning out, it's so important that you're on the other end of it. And the veterans, us in the community, have to be the ones to say, "Hey, look, have you looked at this?" Because they don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you step into that space.
right. So I will say this, not to be too long-winded, because that's a great topic in itself. Because
Mhm.
I remember transparency. I keep my thoughts together. One reason I bring this up because I want to, it just because you never know who else going through this, right? So for me, I remember I got the email, my mother passed away, right? Now there's no call, there's an email because they can't reach me. So just think about that email you get. Hey, I'm sorry to tell you this, your mom is gone. And
Absolutely.
it is nothing else. I can't pick the phone up. I can't do nothing. We in it's like, man, like a piece of you is like the devastation that how to keep going from here. Like, and it's one of those like, what do like, are you serious right now? And then it's like you have to figure it out. So that goes into the piece of like, was I okay when I got that call? Absolutely not. But then I had to say I was fine. I didn't tell anybody it happened for like the first 3 days. Like I literally just cried in the shower. I was on the flight deck, crying on the flight deck with myself. I like all like how you had the corners of the world. You find the
Mhm.
corner, you get it out, you talk to yourself, all the things. It's like one of those things like what to that veteran or that transition veteran that's going through that, hey, that putting on a good face, putting on the outer shell so nobody knows what's going on, or that that transition service member that can't figure like that's having that hard time, or that veteran right now that's going through that divorce, pivoting, like having the new nuances, like real struggle, but has that outwardly face of like, it is what it is. Like I'll cry in the shower. Just
And,
suck it up mentality. Like how
and
do we go ahead?
there's that idea that you don't want to let your team down. You don't
Mm,
want to be that weak link in your department, division, your deployment that says, "Hey man, I got to take a knee. I gotta go back home. Something's going on. I got a serious issue." I mean, you got people with babies being born on while they're away on deployment, and serious issues like people are passing away, and you feel like you're missing out on all of that, and then on the other end, you don't. There's a moral injury if you say, "Hey, I got to step away. I got to step
Good
away
night.
from my day to day." You feel like you're the only person that can do the thing that you do while you're there, and if you leave, it's all gonna fall apart. If you're good at your job and you take ownership in it, you're gonna 100% believe that no, the Navy will not go on without me. I got to be here. I got to be on this team. I got to be on this deployment. I can't step away, and that's a real. And then when you do, I mean, you almost have this internal guilt that needs to be addressed. Like, man, I really let everybody down. I could have gone, I could have stayed out there longer. I could have done more. I could have done this. And I think in going back to what Safeguard does is like really having that connection with other veterans. Say, hey, you did enough. You're good. You got your relief. You're not going to be. You don't. You're not the Navy will be fine without you. The Marine Corps is going to be good without you. The Army is going to go on, goes rolling along, right?
Let me first let me say shout out to the military because and what through it all, right? When you think about the underlying tone, what is the military trying to do, right? Prompt obedience to good order and discipline. They're trying to build resilient, ready folks. They're trying to build people that have that bounce back, right? But they do such a good job of it when we start talking about all these things. There's so much self-reliance, there's so much resilience, there's so much buy into, not for self or country, not for me, for my team,
Mm-hmm.
that whole, when I'm fine is no longer I'm fine, right? So from your personal just kind of ideas or inputs on this, Jose, how do we recognize that? Like at what point is this trend? I see more and more transitioning service members retiring without their spouses. They're like, oh, by the way, I'm going through a divorce, right?
It's all part of
Or
the
or same thing, I'm forward deployed and I just lost a family member, but now's not the time for me to go back or anything like
Mhm.
that. What and understanding that it's situational for everybody. Everybody's different, right? We all view things differently, so it's not going to be the same for anyone. But for you, like, what would you say, like, if this is the point where you really need to start thinking, maybe I'm not fine?
Absolutely. And this is General Mattis, I got to meet him at an event. And he talked about he the first time I heard him say it, it's called post-traumatic growth. And through these challenges, you come out of it a better person. You got this
Mhm.
veneer that just these experiences that just expose you to let you know, hey, I can maintain and I could do these things. But on the other end of that, there has to be empathy for each other. Like that's why I'm always reaching back to our veterans to like expose what happened with my transition, but also for us, like even if you're on active duty, um, you have to look out for your team. You have to be the one that say, hey, you know what, let's cut you loose to get home on time. Let's make sure that there has to be empathy, and you have to have that awareness of what's going on with your people, because if we're going to just run them into the ground and think we're going to just replace them, because that's how the military works. Yeah, it's called service for a reason, because you volunteer for it and you're there for a certain amount of time, and then you're a civilian. So what I see, what my aha moment was, that what I can do is share my experience and let people know, hey man, this is a good time to step away, take a knee, check in with yourself. Hey, go home. You're the guy that wants to be here to 1800, or the last man standing, and Liberty Call just went down, but you're still hanging out in the Chiefs mess or the goat locker, or finding something else to do because you don't want to address the challenges back home. That's when somebody else has to step up and be like, hey man, get engaged, go touch some grass, get out of this workspace, go. And there's so many organizations out there that do that. I'm thinking about Outward Bound. I found another one that takes veterans fishing. There's so many of there's Boulder Crest.
Blue Star Families has Outdoor Connect.
Outdoor Connect, Boulder Crest out in Northern Virginia, that has family programs. It's that ability to reconnect with our families, and with our communities, because as we kind of go down these rabbit holes, we tend to retreat. We tend to go into our caves, and then that's when we need other people, the community, to say, hey man, come on, let's get out. Let's go do something for the community. That's why I think of the Mission Continues service projects, the Team Rubicon that goes out after a hurricane or a earthquake and sends in veterans that are like happy go lucky. Let's go fix some stuff. Let's go clean up this area. And in service, that's why you find I think statistically veterans are more committed to their communities, and typically serving in their communities after their service, because they feel a need for that. And I think in doing that and giving back, you're also giving to yourself. When I'm able to help a veteran that hasn't, that maybe at the VEC, I met with a Vietnam veteran that was starting over, looking for a new career. When I'm able to walk him through the Safeguard website, because he wasn't too tech savvy, he wasn't too up to speed, and help him with a resume, and he goes out the door with some options, some employment opportunities, a new resume, and he knows we're a resource he can count on. man, that's a game changer. But you can't put a dollar amount on that. You can't say, oh, look, this is something that we've done. But when you do it with that empathy, when you serve with that empathy after you've maybe served on active duty, there's a return on that investment. You're going to get something back that's not quantifiable.
So I would say that we kind of already kind of talked about the military, or that I guess it's not just the military, the people around you too kind of cultivate to some of the norms of like somebody say, hey, you're going through divorce. Hey, that's how you make cheat. Who ain't been through a divorce? But that's not normal. Like the norm, like we make a lot of times in the military, even as a veteran, sometimes we just normalize tragedy, normalize hardships, right? And that's crazy how like the average person like, hey, I'm going through divorce or this, that, or this not going right. It's like, all right, just suck it up. It's gonna be okay. Like, get a new wife. Or your kids
Yeah,
did something crazy. All right, don't just, hey, all of them do that. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of the process, right? But I will say I want to tie it back into the side of like, hey, there's that veteran that said was drinking the Kool-Aid of, hey, like just suck it up, and now they can't suck it up no more, right? But at the same time, they had a bad experience. They went to that organization or got sponsored over to a counselor and they feel like they got nothing from it. What advice or what is Safeguard going to do different than maybe that experience that I had before with a counselor or organization that turned me off? But I'm like, I'm going through something right now. Like, you know what? I want to give Safeguard a chance. Like,
that's
what makes me want to give you a chance?
and that's the important part. That's where I go back to that tool bag. Like every veteran's going to leave transitioning with an empty tool bag, and then they feel like TAP class in there, and they've connected with the VEC, and they've connected with a veteran and community. All those tools in the bag, and this is a lot of people might have tried something with the VA. They might have gone on the VA website and they got really frustrated with the response they got from a particular person. But I say you got to really understand how big this network is, how big this community, not just the Safeguard network, but the veteran community as a whole. You know, you gotta, like me, I used to be that way where I said, oh, I don't need the VA. The VA was for Vietnam guys and guys that went to World War II. That's not for me. Until I understood the bandwidth and the breadth of the VA, but not just the VA, but the veteran community as a whole. So I think in being able to go in that tool bag, and the people, us in the veteran space, being able to understand the challenges that those veterans are having with that frustration, because that comes with every veteran. They're going to say, oh, you know what, I reached out to them and the door was closed, or oh, they were doing training and I didn't get a call back. A lot of times it's understanding how those organizations work, and which ones are the best ones that are going to serve you, I think. So yeah, maybe you went on a Monday and or a Friday and they were doing training, or you and you're already dealing with the frustration of everything that you're dealing, that whether that's employment, behavioral health, mental health things going on. Maybe you're homeless or about to be homeless. There's like a sliding scale there. But we do, and as veterans, to go back to your original point, we normalize it. I was thinking about the work. There's no workforce like the Department of Defense, where every Monday you're going to get a report on how many DUIs, and you're talking about how many divorces happen and who didn't show up and stuff like that. You're like, this chaotic. You don't show up to Home Depot to work, and they'll be like, man, did you hear? Two of our cash registers ladies got a DUI, and one of them's getting divorced. You know what I mean? It's that community, and I'm thinking about what Alfredo's saying here about submarines, that submarine community where you have to really control that chaotic. They're living like Lord of the Flies on that island, but in all that, you got to give some grace and you got to serve with some empathy. I think it is the most important part, and only when you're on the other side of it. When I was the customer, the veteran that needed all the help, I didn't understand. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I get it. When I sit down with a veteran that's frustrated because he hasn't found a job yet, he's having an issue with his living arrangement, or however, whether he's staying on a couch or staying with family, I got to understand that person's coming on with a lot of baggage, a lot to unpack, and a lot of times they might just want to be listened to. And they never talked about the behavioral health stuff or the military sexual trauma that went on, because they got to get a job and they got to pay for the lights to stay on. So it takes some time, and sometimes you just got to be the listener And then and maybe that's all the veteran needs, even though they come in with one thing. I call it, like I said, I'm going to trademark it, when you pop the hood and you find out what's really going on. But it takes time, it takes empathy. You got to approach it with like some kindness.
I will say quickly, like that MST, that's a whole nother realm, right? I just talked to like two individuals the other day because we in this podcast space, and the
Mhm.
conversation was one way. Now it's like it went to an MST route. And that's
Yeah.
the dark side of the military, nobody necessarily talking about. So that's one of the podcasts that we're gonna probably bring up coming up here in the future, like the other side of it, right? Because it's not something like you can't shy away from it. It happens. It's not a secret that it happens, but we don't talk about it. And it's a lot of
Wow.
like the victims blame themselves. A lot of I had like transparently, I had somebody, I was talking to a young lady, she's active duty right now, and she's in Bahrain, she's doing certain things. And I was just questionable some of the male's friends she has around her. And she was like, oh, these are my friends, but I've been drunk before and I never had nothing happen to me with
Mm.
them. I'm like, hey, that doesn't make them a good person, but immediately identified that she had maybe drink before in her past and had somebody take advantage, and she's just excited to have males that she can drink around that don't take advantage of her. And it's like that is like just the idea of saying, hey, I can, because I had a few drinks, they didn't take advantage of me. They're great people. Like they just not
Yeah.
predators. They're not, you know what I mean? So that's a whole other realm, and I don't want to go to the dark side on this, but like when the mental health side of it, it all ties together because like we talked about the layers. There's so many layers to a
Absolutely.
person, and it
It's
don't
so
just like it was an organization called Zebra. They don't just, it's not just happening to females, it happens to males too. They had an organization, we was in Bahrain. I never forget this. It was 2017 going to 20, like the middle of 2017, 2018. They gave a real account of a military. He was leaving Bahrain. He
Mhm.
had too many drinks. Went out with somebody, one of his friends. Before he was literally going on a plane. He's supposed to fly that day. The flight got canceled. Hung out for one last night of drinking, having a great time. And guess what? One of his battle buddies took advantage of him,
Wow.
and he couldn't understand it. He didn't know why. He didn't like what he didn't know what happened. Then they went to this dark place. He ended up reporting it, but then he didn't want to report it, and it was a whole thing out. But they gave an actual like a whole a play like a reenactment of it, right? Just for us to see it because it was a real case scenario, and they wanted us to see, hey, because sometimes we just pointed towards the female population and not the male
Absolutely.
population, but it happens, and that's another like that. Listen, I don't want to go too far with that. I know John
No,
has a
no, you're
question. I'm gonna let
absolutely true.
John go,
You,
but
you
like
hit
that is when you say MST, that is like that. Some people have dealt with it. Even if me as a male, I haven't dealt with it, I got family members. I got a sister. I got other people around me who have dealt with that. And that stuff is like so like it's a whole nother realm. That
we
like I mean they used to, when I did a zebra train, they said one in four
yeah,
females have been some type of sexual harassment, sexual trauma
absolutely.
they never will talk about. But it's
Yeah.
happened to them.
And like you said, there's layers to this. You can't unpack one thing that doesn't affect something else. That military sexual trauma is going to affect your behavioral health. It's going to affect your workplace. It's going to affect how you move forward with finding your next career and how you respond and how you and the think about it more. There is no more vulnerable a population than active than whether you're service members and the veteran population in transition. While you're on active duty, you get 19, 18-year-old kids starting this jumping into this fishbowl, and of course they're going to get taken advantage of. How their culture evolves, where their workspace is it toxic, is it in a place that's going to lend itself towards a lot of drinking and bad decision making. That population, and I say that population, that's our population, and it's a vulnerable population, and again, the answer to that is let's be empathetic. Let's take care of our junior. I mean, we preach it all the time. We got to take care of our junior people, and that includes and for us in the veteran space, that includes our transitioning veterans. They're the folks that are coming into this space for the first time. I treat them like the new E3 that just showed up, and except now they're adulting on the other end of it as civilians with a DD 214.
Yeah, man, so much great stuff. And before I go any further, and you said it, but for anybody that might watch this on YouTube or even people that are listening, that don't know that MST is military sexual trauma. I know growing up in the Navy, that wasn't a common acronym that people were familiar with. I'm hearing it more and more. I think it's become the accepted kind of acronym, but just want to make sure people know when Dominic's talking about MSTs, that's what he's talking about. And it is 12. Man, we get
Well,
crazy
you
how
put me on
fast
my
that hour
soapbox.
flew by. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Hey,
And your
well,
willingness to have those conversations. I'm gonna get to you, TJ. Give me 1 second. Let me get this last question. And do we and I meant to ask you this before we started, Jose. Do you have an extra few minutes if we go over?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So let me wrap up. Let's wrap up with this question. And then we'll get to the audience here. So if we got three people watching you now or YouTube or wherever, one's preparing to leave the military, one's been out for years, and one is struggling right now. What is the first step you want each of them to take? So one's preparing to leave, one has been out for years, and there's just one that is just currently struggling.
So let's take preparing to leave first, right? You're a TAP, you're a year out, 6 months out, just getting ready to leave next week. I think you got to take a make a list. I mean, like, hey, you're transitioning out. Make sure your needs are being met, but also start connecting. And like I said, start putting those tools in the tool bag. Connect with the Veteran Employment Center if you're staying here in Hampton Roads. Connect with the resources where you're going to go. And you might be that veteran that says, "Man, I don't want nothing to do with the military after I leave." Which is a lot. Some demographics of veterans transitioning out, they say, "No, I'm done. I'm out." But don't leave money on the table. Connect early. I love that. Thank you, Dr. Lange. Connect early, start with the VA, but then also connect with those other resources in the community. That's where, and you're going to feel better about your transition when you're getting responses and you start building that network of people that are helping you with the next step, whether that's employment. Because when you leave, you go off that brow, you walk off by yourself, and you walk off that base for the last time by yourself, and you feel like, man, I went from this crew of people and resources and to, like, hey, now it's just me and the spouse and the kids, and you're starting over. Start building that crew as a veteran space. So that's our transitioning member. Alfredo says start 2 years before transitioning, be the minimum. I believe it. I'm right there with you. Start connecting on LinkedIn. Start following people like Alfredo Torres on LinkedIn, and start joining that veteran community. Even though you're still working and you're still clocking in and you're still doing your thing, start working on your exit strategy.
I think that
Now,
brings up a big cultural thing. They need to make TAP a requirement 2 years out, not a year out, because it's just cultural. Like, okay, if the military is telling me I don't need TAP until I'm 12 months out, it's
yeah,
hard for me to mentally process it 24 months out.
yeah.
But if we establish that as the norm, then it's like, oh crap, I need to get on this sooner. But
I
go
need
ahead, sorry.
the side slope. Yeah. So that second veteran is the veteran that you said is out already.
hmm So you
Yeah.
got one transitioning, one out, and one struggling.
So let's say, and I'm going to take that veteran that's out, and maybe that veteran. I don't know if you want to pick a post 9/11 generation, Vietnam veteran, World War II veteran. Every veteran, every transitioning service member veteran, each generation has its own challenges. you know. But I'm going to try to make it broad enough to address every generation. Is also connect with the resources, and if you're struggling, understand. I always say start with the VA and then work yourself out to the other resources in your community. If you're in Hampton Roads, that might be the Stephen A. Cohn Military and Veteran Family Clinics. That might be a veteran specific clinician that works with veterans that understands the veteran culture and the service member culture, but also other organizations like Travis Manion, the Mission Continues, Team Rubicon, your Military Connection Center at your campus. If you're using your GI Bill, before you pull the trigger, talk to these people about how to maximize your resources. Even if it's a financial planner, someone that understands, hey, your prior service, let me see what you're working with and let me help you with that. But start again building that tool bag of resources that are veteran specific, that speak the language. That's a huge part. And now for that last service member that's struggling, that service member that's struggling might be by himself, or maybe he's got family and friends that are saying, man, you know what? Jose's really having a hard time, and they don't know how to address it. That's kind of to circle back to what that training does. It gives you the tools to have those hard conversations about, hey, how about doing, let's try this. Let's talk about how do we secure our weapons so we're not thinking about, suicidal ideation. Um, let's talk about Alfredo's mentioning state benefits, state agencies, but really kind of connecting again with those resources that are available, and just it might start with a Google search. It's like pulling on a string on a sweater. You might start with one organization, and this goes back to the catchphrase, any door, the right support. Us in the space, we need to know how to say, hey, man, this person needs help with applying for disability benefits. This person needs help with a ramp because they're in a wheelchair. What organizations are doing that? Oh, that's the VFW. They'll throw a ramp up for a disabled veteran at a house in an hour. Hey, there's an organization over here that's going to help you with your resume and career search strategy. There's an organization over here that's going to get you out connected with other veterans and bring you back into society, because hey, you're stuck in that man cave or that woman cave, that she cave, or that she shed, that she shed, and we want to get you out connected with other female veterans, specifically female veterans. I know down here at the city of Norfolk, we had the first veterans female veterans day, and the city of Norfolk had a room full of female veterans recognizing each other, and that doesn't happen a lot. Connecting with that demographic, that's huge. So
that was the one Lisa Franchetti was at, right?
Yeah, Lisa Franchetti, Donna Magnicott,
yeah,
with the city of Norfolk. There's a lot of, and this is the network. Like, this is the people that are going to give you that warm handoff. When I talk to Dominic, Dominic's going to connect me with John. John's going to connect me with Donna or Lisa or whoever that person is. And that's the superpower I talk about that veterans don't know exists until they tap into it and use it.
Yeah. And real quick, and so Alfredo mentioned a couple of things, right? Yeah, you gotta take care of yourself, prioritize yourself, and using those state agencies and the state resources and chaplain support, there are the base stuff. So great information, brother. Thank you so much. TJ, what did you have, brother?
You on mute.
Okay, yep. Hey, listen, guys, I got to be honest with you. Impressive. I had no idea what to truly expect here today. I came from that perspective of military hiring, transitioning, connecting, relationship building, and everything else, and got a whole wealth of those things that I actually teach and tap. I would like to close with saying, I'm going to put a couple of things in the actual chat that I want you to carry away from this meeting and deliver it to your veteran community. And let's really talk about all the transition periods, everything they actually go through. Until they actually have a vet that's gone through that's been butts and seats, boots on ground in that situation, they don't really understand it. And I'll end with this. I just left Annapolis this week teaching a TAP course up there. And I'm sitting on an employer panel with 4 guys just talking to them about employment and jobs and everything else. And when they finally gave me the microphone, I actually talked to them about the reality of what they're going to have to face when the uniform comes off, what the expectation is, not to overprice, not to overexpect, not to underexpect, how to actually take that skill set into that community and actually talk the talk. And one of the most important questions I got in that audience of about 40 or 50 different people, they said to me, what's the most important thing that I could do when I start talking about an interview? And I'll ask this group right here, who is the most important person you think you will ever meet when you walk into a space to conduct an interview? Who do you think that is? I know we're out of time, so I'm going to answer that question. Yeah. That secretary that's sitting at that desk, the first person that's sitting at that desk is the one that can likely impact your hire or pass on. And that first job out of the military might not be their forever job. But as Steve Jobs said, hey, listen, sometimes if you get a job offer, take that job offer and figure that out. That's what we do on the fly. So I'm going to connect with Dominic. I mean, there's so much that I want to share with this group about actually connecting, actually about taking that 10-point preference. I want you guys to most definitely put the information out there, man. These agencies that I'm working with, they made the biggest mistake by appointing me as the Veterans Administrative Officer for FEMA, because I can tell you what, Dominic already knows, hey, it's about to change. It is really, truly about to change, that we're going to teach veterans 5 points, 10 points, 30%, 100% disabled veterans about using that benefit to get the jobs that they want. So, I'm going to try to make as many of these meetings as I actually can. But if I don't make them, I got a wife who's sitting here looking over my computer screen right now on a Saturday, looking at why I'm on this TV, on this thing. But this is important to me. So I'm going to share some information, but I want you guys to connect with me on LinkedIn. Get those veterans to get those resumes to me at 2-page resume, not 100-page. Resume writing, we do it all. Connect with me, and we're going to make it happen for it. And I'm going to use you guys. And one last thing, Alfredo, before I go. You guys talk so much about relationships, connectivity, resources. And the thing I'm thinking right now is, in this group right here, right now, every resource that you can possibly link or put a link to, create a page with those links on it, a short abbreviation of it, man, and we take that to the world and start posting that on LinkedIn and everything else for veterans out there. I can't tell you how many of them would hop on that, or how many of them we can drive to this right here, this podcast right here, that they would take that 1 hour on Saturdays to actually come to a safe space and really talk about what's real, and forget all of the bogus stuff that we get. Let's talk veterans and real life stuff that they can identify with. So again, I appreciate you, Dominic, for reaching out to me, man, and inviting me to this, guys. I really appreciate it, and I want to be a part of it. So Alfredo, I'm going to pass the mic to you, sir.
Thank you so much for that, TJ.
Before you go, right? I don't even like transparency. Sometimes you see people on the LinkedIn and all the things, and it's like you never who they are. Between TJ, Alfredo, and Jose, I don't even like, we still live right now, but the kudos, like, I appreciate y'all in this space. I appreciate what y'all doing. And then TJ, you got the same energy I got. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, trying to help the veterans get to the other side of it, right? And it's hard to meet people that's like that, because it's like, it's almost chaotic. It's almost like the drive you have, the passion you have. I'm gonna jump on this. I got this, I got that. I'm trying to, how do I help people get to the other side of the struggle, the other side of what success looks like? And like trying to tell people, like, hey, the way you talk fast is like me. It's just raining. Get an umbrella. We're gonna get through. It's only rain. We're gonna get to the other side. You've been, this is just a chapter in your life, right? The good, bad, it's just a chapter. It's more to you than just the struggle today. Today's trials could be tomorrow's testimonies, right? So I can go all day. That is my lane. That is my bag, trying to tell people that, like, hey, and don't suffer in silence. I can get your rent paid. I can get the mortgage paid. It's so many organizations that want to help you. They're out there. They want to give you. They get money. They get millions of dollars to help you, from the state to this organization. But guess what? You don't use them. You want to suffer in your garage. You want to suffer. Don't tell nobody you sleeping in the car. You just want to suck it up. Don't suck it up. Tell the people you have a problem. Let us help you. You did so much for the country. Do so much. You lost some things. We had a lot of sacrifices. You lost a marriage. You have your hard relationship with your kids. Grandma, mom not there no more. Like, don't let these people to sit on this money when you're the person they want to help. You're the person in the meeting they want to talk about when they say, hey, I want to help veterans. You're the veteran. You're the person. Raise your hand and say, hey, I need the help, so you can get the help. And the only way you get that is stay in these communities, have these conversations, like, be around the people. Like, I just went to the vet center yesterday. It's so much knowledge and so much, man. One guy was like, hey, man, Outlaw, what you doing there? I told him, hey, I want to give you my Oldsmobile. I just want to give it to you. I'm not driving no more. I want to give you something. That's what the older veterans want to do. They want to give back. I try to tell anybody, let me get on my soapbox real quick. Anybody, if you fresh out of 18 years old, fresh out of high school, what advice did you give yourself about life, marriage, the military, all 9 yards? You be light years ahead. So guess what? Don't run away from the DAV. Don't run away from American Legion. Don't run away from the organization do vet stuff. It's a veteran that's 50, 60, 70 years old. They want to give everything back, from the financial side to do's and don'ts. Hey, how to navigate the corporate world, how to get in the corporate world, how to get into apprenticeship programs. You know what? I met a master mechanic. He said, listen, if you want to come on my house, learn the mechanic stuff, he in his 60s going on 70s. I want to teach you, because he said, I'm not going to be here that long, and I want to get this advice back. Or if you got a son, I want to get your son to learn this mechanic stuff. I didn't prep him. He just said, hey, man, whenever you want to come down to Eastern Shore, I got a mechanic shop. I'll teach you, your son, whoever, because I want to give back. And people forget that. I think sometimes the older we get, we get a little more gray in our beard, a little more gray in our hair. We forget, like, you still need a mentor. The mentorship never stops. If you don't have a mentor, you're the smartest one in the room, have the most money in the room, you're in the wrong room. You're in the wrong room. I always would tell anybody that would listen, everybody's a victim of something. You can't sit around a bunch of victims. You got to get on the side of survivors, right? I'm a victim. I lost my marriage. Maybe you had a drinking problem. This went wrong. That went wrong. A year from now, that could change. This is a trial. It's a time in your life that it's a struggle. But guess what? Other people have been through that. People been through divorces. People been through drinking problems. People been through hardship. People lost a child, but guess what? They survived it. It's not about being a bunch of victims. You got to get to where the survivors are. Sometimes you even got to encourage yourself. If you believe in God, you believe in faith, you double down in your faith, double down in your religion, double down in whatever the universe, whatever you believe in. You can't just sit in a silo or sit by yourself and sulk and cry and whine and complain about life's hardships. Life's not going right. Guess what? Life's not going to go right. Everybody has life problems. Anybody successful, from Steve Jobs to anybody, Oprah, everybody had hardships. Nobody, but the hardship is a hardship. They didn't give up. Then you never know when you knock on that door, it's gonna open. I don't care if I knocked on 100 doors. That 101 door could open. That can change my whole life. A conversation, the door open, but just you can't just sit in the negativity. Like sitting in negativity will keep you negative. Like I can listen. That you just charged me up for the rest of the day.
We got him charged up for the 27
other
podcasts he got going on today.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Bro, I gotta chime in here, bro. I've been chomping at the bit. First of all, the amount of positive, incredible information that was put out. I can't, for you to put all that in a 1 hour show. I couldn't believe that you did it. Jose and I go way back. I mean, 17 years at least at this point from when we both started ODU, and you can't connect with a better person when it comes to helping you take that step out there than Jose. TJ, bro, you and I, brand new. Hey, Dom, I'm sorry to tell you this, bro, but I just got promoted to the employment coordinator. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be your VRC guy. But I'm back in the employment space, which is the space that I loved. And some of you guys might know me from back when I worked for the state benefits. So I'm gonna be right with you, TJ. I got 35 people who graduated Chapter 31 who I'm gonna send your way because they need jobs. And if you're looking to hire, I want to put them in there.
Let's go.
And I'm trying to get all this stuff. Dom,
let's go.
You just preached right. You just preached right, because the one thing that people need to realize is that everybody here, we all transitioned. We all did everything wrong in our transition, so you don't have to. I used to say that all the time when I worked for the state and I was a transition coordinator. I did everything wrong during transition, so you don't have to. Okay, and Jose's heard my story a billion times, man. Jose wanted to push me off a freaking cliff one day because he got tired of hearing my stories. But
we don't talk about that.
Yeah,
I was in a bad place.
Yeah, well, I get it. I was too. I was just on a whiny place. But the reality is this, man. We all made it to the other side. Okay, we all went through our hardships. We all are lessons to be learned from. And here's the killer when it comes to this kind of lesson. You got people who've learned these lessons who aren't willing to share. We're willing to share. It takes away and it takes away from our stigma of what it means to be a veteran, of what it means to be, in our cases, when we're minorities, what it means to be a male Puerto Rican. I got to tell you stuff that goes against being a stereotypical male Puerto Rican. You know, that when I was growing up, people would look, I'm a less than because I went through this and I'm talking about it. And that goes with any Latin community. That goes with any African-American community. It goes with any Caucasian community that comes from a specialized area. If you're from Appalachia and you tell the stuff that you've been through, you're looked at less than.
Let me, Alfredo, I got to tap on that. I just one of our cities that is part of our project is Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the biggest challenge there is cowboy culture.
Sure.
And reaching out where they just kind of cowboy up. And it's literally, there's been documentaries about this culture where mental health is frowned upon or reaching out for behavioral health or support in general because they want you to cowboy up. And that was news to me. So
it's none of that is surprising. It really isn't when you look at society as a whole and how it affects all of us. You talk about MST, right? Tell me the one male military guy is going to say that I got molested. Add on to that,
Not gonna happen.
if he's in a leadership position.
Mm.
Add on to that if he's in a specialized community, a ranger, a SEAL, a submariner, because they're specialized too. We're just all little. But add on to that, right? Now add on to that culture they come from, right? One of the biggest things that I ever did was I told people that I'm a survivor of military not military, I'm a survivor of sexual trauma. I got molested when I was 7, and I speak about it openly. When the first time I ever said that, when people started, after I said it, yeah. Plus, the guys who came up to me and were like, "Man, I went through that too," but said it in a hushed tone because, bro, I went through it too. You can't say it, right? Because now you're less than a man, you're less than a veteran, you're less than a combat vet. No, you're not. But until we normalize that stuff, right? Until we normalize that, you know what? Hey, I was homeless, but you know what? I made it on the other side. Now look at me. I was suicidal. Yo, I made it on the other side. Now look at me. There's hope for you, right? And if you're going through that, you're like, wow, I'm not the only one, because that's the big thing, is that when we go through all this, we're the only one. And we're the only one because we don't talk to other people, right? And that's where it's on us. Guys like Jose, guys like Dom, guys like TJ, guys like John, who sit there, and we got to have, we excuse me to the label, we got to have the balls to say, you know what, I survived this. I survived it. So that transitioning service member, or even worse, that Vietnam veteran who's been living with that stuff for 50 years, 60 years, because he is part of that toxic culture. When you want to talk about toxicity culture of I'm less than, because I got molested when I was 17, when I was 18 in the service, and I didn't know any better, and I can't talk about it. Unless we make it normal, it'll never come out. And the rates of suicide are going to stay up.
Let me, and I want to be very, very, very deliberate about this part, because we were like, add on to that. I want to add on to the fact that the MST was by another man, because we always assume it's by another man, but we need the caveat. There's a lot of MSTs where men are from women, right? So I think it's just it's human nature, right? There are just some stereotypes, for lack of a better word, that when we hear about them, we get this vision. Mm-hmm. So when we think about men who are too embarrassed to talk about MST, it's usually, at least for me, I'm at least in my experience, we always assume that it was by another person, because they really never want to admit that they were by some 125-pound female and they're a 6'4", 240-pound man. So I want to be very deliberate that it does add another layer to it, right? The person that's doing it as well is sure. It's not just one person, it's both genders.
Add on to that the fact that it might not have been sex. Mm-hmm. Okay, hazing culture, right? How many times do you get a big group of guys who will haze a newbie who comes in, and part of that hazing will be, oh, we're gonna take a broom handle, shove it up his ass. Oh, excuse my French, but I mean, and to them it's all joking, it's all part of the hazing culture. But that's military sexual trauma.
Yeah, hard to believe that stuff like that actually still happens, but
yeah,
it does.
What I will say, I'm around my first tour to Bahrain, right? And like that's 2006. I never forget. They said, "Hey, Outlaw, how do you care? We bring some girls to the house." I said, "I don't care." They got a whole house full of prostitutes. I'm talking about 10, 15 prostitutes, right? Everybody drinking. I said, "Oh, I ain't gonna be a part of this." I locked myself in the room, right? I locked the door. I don't want nobody coming to my room. They drunk, they acting crazy. The next morning, guess what? They got videos of teabagging each other that passed out. Teabagging. So sometimes, like me personally, I don't like when MST, I just say MST because it's a little bit like I still have the stigma, like, oh, that's like, I don't want to say military sexual trauma. I don't want to say that out loud, right? Because I don't know who I might offend. The people who know what MST is, they know what they know, right? But you have to say military sexual trauma. Like that, I'm happy John intervened and said, hey, what he's saying is military sexual trauma. Because a little bit of me is like, it's the military culture. Like, don't tell our dirty secrets. Don't talk about what's going on. Keep it to ourselves. But at the same time, like back to that situation, all these prostitutes, everybody getting drunk. They have their little orgy downstairs. Then guess what? The ones that passed out, they got videos of them teabagging, wake up the next morning, it's all fun and games. A couple fights break out, but we just move on. It just happens. And I'm saying to myself, we don't know what teabagging is basically. I don't even want to say because it's a
Yeah,
military
they can
very
look it up.
secret.
Let them look it up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, let them look
Urban
it up.
Dictionary. Urban
Urban
Dictionary.
Hey, guess what? Me and Alfredo serve in different areas, right? I see TJ, he linked back because we serving different areas, serving that. They're in their late 40s, probably 50s, or maybe even a little bit older. Who knows? But I give him
60.
late
I'm gonna
40s.
be 60 this
He
year.
about to be 60. TJ, how old are you?
66, bro.
66. These are different eras, right? But guess what? When I said T-Bags, they both like, oh yeah. They knew exactly what it was, right? So sometimes traditions and things don't change. It doesn't change. So that's a culture that's been going on when they serve. It's going on when I serve, and it's going on now. But like to do that to another male and think it's funny, and take a video of it and share it with the world, but you got to keep pressing on. It's like, oh, he does that to everybody. Like what? Everybody.
It's the norm.
It's the norm, and that's not norm.
It's always been the norm. It's not that it's the norm. It's always been the norm. So when you talk about having to change a culture, you know, that starts with us because let's be real. Okay, now today it's politically correct and whatever, but we were all part of, maybe not to that extent, but we were all part of that culture, whether we did it, whether it was done to us, whether we knew about it and did nothing about it to stop it. We were all part of that culture. And it starts with like, okay, you know what? I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I'm telling you it was wrong. I regret whatever part I played, whether I did it, whether I got it done to me, or whether I kept my mouth shut. I regret it, and I can't keep my mouth shut anymore. We need to change that culture. And I'm the first one to say I joined the Navy back in 1991 because I wanted to be a drunk tattooed sailor with a woman in every port. That was the tradition. That was why I joined the Navy. That was the tradition. And when I joined the Navy, the tradition was part of its core values. They changed it 6 months after, and I said, if I'd have known that, I would have went to the Coast Guard. Yeah. Because that was why the image of the sailor kissing the girl on Times Square at VJ Day.
The end of the war. Yep.
Yeah, at the end of World War II. That was me. That was what it was all about. That was wrong.
Yeah, buddy, I came in here in 1981, and thank God that they didn't have cell phones with cameras and things like that. Hey, listen, that's all I have to say to my kids right there is, and that is the real God's honest truth, man. And that's why I am honestly so happy that I did stand down and put the family on pause. But guys, I got to roll if I want to stay married and make the next meeting. I got to go. So
TJ,
listen,
real quick, what
sure.
for tailgate? Are you referring to tail hook?
You know what?
1991.
Hey, that's the aging of me. It was tail hook.
I'll talk about it. I just want to make sure.
In Las Vegas. Hey, in Las Vegas, and I'll tell you who was there at another time. I'll tell you who was there, and sort of did what Dominic had to do when it was kind of like, come on, let's go. But I'm looking at him straight up like, you know what? The brother ain't gonna be the fall guy for this one. So I'm just I'm gonna shift, and I'm gonna remove myself from this, man. But yeah, it was back in those days. But hey, I most definitely will try every chance I get to chime in here. Dominic, I'm gonna reach out to you so we can further take a look at this, because at some point, guys, I would like to come on here and do a really great presentation for this group about preference hiring and how we work to connect, not just for FEMA, but for every agency, to talk about hiring and educate ourselves to take this message out into the world for the veterans. So listen, everybody have the rest of a great weekend. I got to bug out, okay?
Take care, TJ. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
and so we are coming up at 12:30. So if you're not familiar with tail hook, I encourage you, that is why we changed our Navy core values. So that makes sense why it aligned with when you came in, Alfredo. The Navy had the rebrand. And that's when we adopted the Marine Corps core values of honor, courage, and commitment, because ours just weren't they weren't what they were. So it is 12:30. I want to thank everybody for hanging on this long. What a great dialogue, great room, great energy, great time. I hope everybody walked away or is leaving here with something, whether it's a perspective or a thought or an idea or something just to kind of chew on. Jose is off a little bit. I know he's got to get to his grandbaby's birthday. So thank you so much, brother, for your Saturday morning, the insights. Thank you for what you do for Safeguard Veterans and pioneering that and getting that pilot out to the world. And you know, as you mentioned, it's an ocean of goodwill out there. Everybody's drowning. So for you to continue to try to break through that white noise and be that life raft in this large ocean that we have, thank you. Can't thank you enough. And people just like you, for the work that you're doing selflessly, right? The one thing that you can give that you can never get back is your time. And so when people are willing to give that to you, you know, the level of appreciation goes beyond words. So Dominic, I'll turn it over to you if you want to. Well, Jose, real quick, do you have any last parting words before we close out? And then we'll give it to Dominic to take us home.
Yeah, what a great conversation, man. I'm glad Alfredo jumped on and TJ jumped on to add there. There's a lot in this space to share, and there's a lot to cover. So, I mean, you know, let's keep connecting. And like I said, the superpower is in this space. It's our veterans helping veterans. These conversations, sharing what's the best practices and what's the best way forward. I mean, so please connect with me. Please connect with Safeguard. I want to see you kick the tires, take the training, enroll as a veteran yourself, and follow up. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. That's my word.
Absolutely.
Dropping our YouTube channel in the chats for us, Dominic, just so you know it's there.
I can't wait for this one to go live because we started with one vision and then we went MST, we went over here. We got Alfredo about to take a new VA, new role in the employment side. You got TJ coming on from FEMA saying, "Hey, I want to connect veterans to jobs, do all the things. I'm the FEMA employment person." Da 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 da. Like it's like this, like the idea of this is crazy. Like I love the idea of it. I'm happy everybody came on, and I feel like this atmosphere, the people who keep coming back, I'm excited to be in this space. I'm excited to be in this atmosphere. I hope everybody have a great weekend, have a great week. Next week we'll be coming back with something a little bit workforce development side of it, like conversation with other workforce development leaders, talking about what to do, what they see in the atmosphere, XYZ. So that's be another good one. This is like a brainstorm, not so much of like something scripted or something like it's just, hey, what do you see? Some of the nuances, what programs are there, what are people not tracking? That's what that one's going to be about next week. I look forward to it. Like I'm so charged up. Like I'm ready to take the hill right now. Right. I'm ready to take the hill. So like whatever energy I had, whatever I thought I was gonna do, I'm about to do it 10 times more. Right. So like it's a lot of things coming out. So I won't be. I'm just rambling right now, but I appreciate y'all time. Appreciate the community. I appreciate everything. If y'all need anything from me, John, I know Alfredo's always at a text or email on LinkedIn away, and Jose as well. So if everybody just drop their links in their profiles in the chat, so we all get connected, right? Because the connection, we can be our own little community right here. Like it seems like everybody from Jose to Alfredo, doesn't matter. Like TJ, it doesn't matter his position, the title, what he has. Everybody wants that community. Everybody wants that connection, right? You don't see that every day. Like I'm in the workforce development space. Everybody's not giving you a LinkedIn. Everybody's not gonna respond. Everybody's not coming on a Saturday to come speak. Alfredo got 1,000 things going on. Jose got 1,000 things going on. TJ, he just came in. He had 1,000 things going on. To come give an hour and a half plus of their time. They want to connect on a. This not the Breakfast Club. This is a small platform. They come on a small platform. This is a platform because I want to give back. I want to make sure I help the veterans out. That is huge, right? So we got to make sure that you dial into that as far as your networking. If you need something from me, find me, send the questions, send John, send Alfredo, connect with the people on here because these are true, genuine people that want to help you. True, genuine people that want to get to the other, whatever you're going through to help you get on the other side of it. I'm not going to be too much longer than that. I appreciate the time. Appreciate
Hey, real
everybody
quick,
coming
let's
out.
plug Dominic. Dominic, what else you got going on today?
All right. Oh, Agna Education. They had a summit for those who are transitioning. Can you drop that in the chat? The link for that. So I don't have it right in front of me.
I don't have it in front. It's on both
LinkedIn
of ours.
profile.
LinkedIn. Yep.
Yeah,
it's on our
yeah.
LinkedIn
So the
profiles.
Agna Education is skill bridge. If you that transitioning service member, or even if you just see this on YouTube, make sure you connect. It's a lot of resources, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of stuff getting put out every Saturday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Make sure you find yourself to the Act Now, that rundown. If you missed it some of it because you just watched this video, that's fine. But make sure you get to that rundown every Saturday because a lot of good stuff, got a lot of good information getting put out there. But
And then what's going on tonight at 8?
the Transition with Us podcast, right? That's
I got
another
you, bro.
podcast.
I got you.
Sometimes I don't even want to talk about all the things. I post it and you show up, point me in the right direction, I'm gonna shoot. That's it, right? But at the same time, you do have to advertise and stuff like that. Like I'm not an advertiser. I'm not looking for the light. I'm just looking for to help people get to the other side of it, right? So we'll be there for that at 8 o'clock transition podcast. That's on my LinkedIn thing as well. So definitely drop your links in the thing. If we not connected, let's get connected. Send those friend requests. Let's all like create a community to like get each other to the other side and bring other people in as well.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you, Jose. You guys go out, be great today. Have a great time. Don't let the rain damper your day. And then, if you can get on and join and see Dominique, all the things that are going on today, join us tonight with the podcast. But outside of that, this will be on the YouTube channel. I dropped the link in the chat if you subscribe to that. This and all of our briefings will be on there. And we'll hope to see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Great
Thanks
conversation.
again, Jose. Yeah, brother.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
we'll see you. You guys have a great one.